So I downloaded Unity engine last night.
You downloaded Unity.
Yeah, Unity, yeah. I don't know why I want it. Maybe it's because
The Unity video game engine by who makes it?
It's
Is it
by
just
the
the
Unity
company?
Yeah.
Just the Unity. Well,
Just-
it's kind of, sort of an open source. Well, it used to be anyway. It isn't anymore. You have to pay for.
If you want to sell games, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Or if you make more than $100,000.
Or if you have a certain number of people that you want to have collaborate, more than 3, you have to pay.
But
Yes.
Undertale would prove, there's a lot that you can do with just one person if you know what you're doing.
Well, he didn't use Unity either. He used a different thing.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he made his own engine.
No, I thought he used Game Maker.
Oh, Game Maker, that's what I was thinking of.
Very possibly.
But yeah, we'll see.
There's a lot of those guys that did make their own engine. The guy that made Cave Story, one guy wrote his own engine and even the music, like software from scratch by himself, and that was like late 90s, early 2000s that he did that.
So, would an engine be... I'm trying to think of like the best...
It's really just the stuff that renders the pixels onto the screen.
Okay.
And dictates how they behave.
So when you're working in like a game creation environment, like you have all of these polygons and different stuff that's being represented and held, and somehow you have to translate that into pixels to show on a screen.
Right.
And so that's what the engine does, is it does the work of when you move your character or move your camera or whatever, it renders the 3D space into a flat 2D pixel thing to display on your screen.
Gotcha. And then I
So
suppose,
that's more or less
does
what it
that
does.
also govern like physics?
Yeah, you program
Okay.
the physics rules and stuff like that into it.
Interesting. So I suppose realistic physics are possible because you can basically just tell it to behave like...
Behave like real life.
Give it the same math real life follows.
Trouble with that is that there's an awful lot of math that goes on in real life.
And it can take an awful lot of computing power to do that awful lot of math.
Accounting for all of that simultaneously 60 times every second in perpetuity is not an easy task to accomplish. That's why you have $300 parts whose sole job it is to do that.
And even then, there's a limit to what they can accomplish. Although constantly improving. That makes you wonder if like computer hardware won't hit like a ceiling.
It already has. It did a long time ago. The problem we've run into with at least standard kind of CPUs is that they're running so fast that we can't cool them faster than they can run themselves into their own demise. So, for a while we were pretty well stuck. Like, we can't make cores any faster than about 4 gigahertz because that's approaching the speed of light. So, it's like the cosmic speed limit.
Yeah.
So you really can't get any faster than that.
Makes
so
sense.
the solution has been make everything parallel. So now we have 4, 8, 16, 32 cores on individual machines. So just sticking
With
more
power of multiplication.
Yes. Or rather division, really.
I suppose, yeah.
You divide the work amongst a bunch of different people who are equally good at the job.
Makes sense.
There's less resistance when you run things in parallel. It's just more you can do at the same time.
It makes the programming a little more complex, but
Oh, sure.
Yep. All that by way of saying we might be dabbling with game creation a
Even
little
if
bit.
it's just for fun amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
making
I mean,
something
it
stupid.
at least for a while, it's just going to be for funsies. Like, obviously, I don't have a tremendous amount of time to commit to a project like that.
Right.
And for the next year or so, I won't either. It'll be
It'll be something we sort of chip away at for sure.
Definitely.
But Unity provides a lot of tools to turn out stuff like that pretty easily. So
Mhm.
once you learn the ropes, making 2D games in Unity is actually pretty easy.
Yep. And that seems to be kind of the whole draw. And then I think what I like from what I've seen so far is that it behaves a lot like an Adobe program in terms of like layers and different things like that from purely the visual sense. So that'd be sort of my
From like the user interface
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
user experience.
It's more in depth than
And-
that, but I mean, like, it would be sort of my gateway to understanding it, I suppose, at least.
Unity also has really, really good learning tools. Like they have support for like creating tutorials directly in the application that'll like highlight buttons you need to push to
Mm.
do certain things to really teach you how to do it. So
That's pretty cool.
there's a very good support network of tutorials and demos and
Now, usually I
Stuff
like
like
to
that.
skip the game tutorial.
Well, in this case, this is the tutorial that tells you how to create the game. That
I
you
use
make
the tutorial to make the tutorial.
here's a tutorial on how to make a tutorial.
Speaking of computers, I was able. So I went on campus for a thing to meet up with students last night that I still know, and we were in one of the computer labs in the STEM building, and I was still able to log into one of the computers with my student email, which is like, oh, good to see that they're on top of things. You know, like a year and 3 months after I graduated, I can still access basically anything I want to on campus.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. I mean,
Hit enter twice. I'm in.
yeah. What was weird though is I was trying to log in and this somebody must have spilled something on the keyboard or something because it was just like spazzing out. I'd press a key once and then it would like fill up the password or no, it'd fill up like the username bar with like that letter. When I pressed it once, I was like, that's not normal. But it was kind of funny. It's like
Just you
good-
press A once and the computer screams at
yeah. Mom, get the camera.
you. You know, I feel like that too some days.
Yep. Somebody pushes one of my buttons and I just scream.
You push the F and it's just a whole row of F's.
Let's see what's new with y'all.
Well, we just had priesthood promises this evening,
Oh,
Mm.
which I was not able to attend because we are in a split chapel situation for the vid.
oh boy.
So only the guys who had diocesan brothers getting ordained this spring, early summer, got to attend priesthood promises. So yeah, that was cool. Had a little soiree in one of a friend's rooms just before I came over here. So
Sure.
Mm.
celebrating that a little bit.
That's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, there's a grindstone, and I'm just kind of grinding away at it.
Is your nose affixed to it?
Not for very much longer at the rate and pressure I've been putting on it.
Yeah.
There will be no nose left to grind at the grindstone.
No, nose is nose.
How
No-
fortunate that we are coming up on spring break.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna head home to visit family this weekend, and then I'm gonna abduct my younger brother and have him hang out in Fargo for a couple of days.
You're 21. You're old enough to be abducted.
He's not 21 yet.
He will
at
be
the end of
soon.
the month.
Yeah.
So that plus Lent means there will be no binge drinking over that week.
Aw.
Also, the fact that I don't ever feel like doing that. So.
Yeah.
And he
Much less would Isaac.
right, Isaac, he doesn't do alcohol terribly well.
Yeah.
Just doesn't
He's
care for
not
it.
a fan, which is fine.
That's not
for
a bad
everyone.
thing.
It's although I have to say, when playing Mario Party with John on Sunday it got very interesting.
That was a thing.
Because we had a bunch of friends we sort of a spontaneous brunch because
brunch in air quotes because it was like 2:00.
even though John and I definitely agreed on 1, he's like, I thought we said 2:00, and I was like, what? No. Because Ben and Morgan were in town because apparently they ordered a package and selected local pickup, which in this case meant Moorhead. So they came out to Fargo, Moorhead for like 3 or 4 hours.
it was them, John, Emma, and Mr. Emma.
Mm-hmm.
They all
We hung out,
hung out.
drank some coffee and berries, and we made pancakes and eggs, and it was a fun time. And we played Killer Queen with
8 people.
8 people.
That was super fun.
That was a good time. Yeah.
But then after like everyone else dissipated, John and James and I just
Yeah, I went to the
started cycling
bathroom and I
through
came back
random
out and
games.
everyone was gone. It was weird. I was like, oh, I guess they're gone now. But
yes. The Ema is still alive.
Yes.
Evidently so. As of Sunday.
Can't vouch for her right now.
Well, no.
If you're Emma and you're alive, hit the like button.
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment. She's probably texting me right now saying, haha, you referenced me again. Just to do a little fourth wall break. We're in your head. Oh, goodness.
Isn't
I
the
never
fourth
left.
wall sort of broken by definition on this
We
on this operation?
completely disregard
The entire point is we're talking both to each other and to a potential audience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like we're talking to each other and the audience is in the room just like watching.
You are all the flies on the wall. The 2 flies on the wall. Welcome.
Well, it's still mostly winter out here, so
Yeah.
flies aren't
And
out
it's
yet.
been agonizingly hot down here, and by agonizingly hot I mean 60.
Oh, we got up to 60 on Sunday.
Yeah, but it's been humid and
Oh, yeah. Like southern 60 is way.
southern audible air quotes.
Yeah.
But it's still southern as compares Diet Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Right, it's hard to get any more northern than the northern border. So
Whereas
everywhere
Canada
south
just diet
of north
North
is
Dakota
south.
because it's not nearly as concentrated. I don't know, but
I feel like the concentration of Canada and North Dakota are roughly the same.
true. But speaking of concentration, we're the Palladium Papist. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
What are we talking
Hopefully
about
This week
today?
we're doing a little edition of Super Serial.
Super cereal.
Ooh.
One day, 3 lads from North Dakota were bitten by a radioactive television, and with their powers combined, they are Super Serial!
So
Not
what are
gonna
we,
lie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of that bumper.
What are we getting super serial about?
We're getting super serial about a little show called Angel Beats.
Man Bear Pig. Anyway. Angel Beats.
What were you?
Where did the man bear pig come from? We're not talking about The Hangover.
No. It was a South Park thing where Al Gore was trying to warn everyone about Man Bear Pig, which was a stand-in for global warming. He'd be like, I am super cereal. But that's why it popped into my head. Anyway.
Oh.
But Angel Beats. Not Angel Fists, which is apparently some sort of weird kung fu action movie from the 90s.
For some reason, when James was looking this up, in his mind, he auto-corrected beats to fists, and now I'm questioning how good his childhood actually was.
Hey, it could have been Angel Toast. That could have been what wasn't stuck in my head. But
I mean, if your understanding of what the title means is that angels are beating people up, that could be a reasonable conclusion, but I mean, that is and isn't what this show is about.
mm-hmm.
So let's get into it.
Yep.
All right.
So our main character, it's an anime, by the way.
Yeah.
It is our main character, Otanashi, kind of wakes up laying on the ground with no memory of anything, never mind how he got there.
Mm-hmm.
And a girl peering through the scope of a sniper rifle asks if he's awake yet. And he's like, what the heck is going on here?
What?
She's like,
You're
welcome.
finally awake.
Yes, indeed. She welcomes him to the not yet dead battlefront and asks him to enlist in said battlefront. And he's like, wait, what on earth is going on here? So she explains that he is in the afterlife. He is dead, and he'll be obliterated if he doesn't fight. So he should probably fight. Her name is Yuri. Her nickname is Euripi, so those two are interchangeable. And Yuri is staring through her scope at a girl named Angel, who's just kind of chilling, off in the distance, standing there. Angel is the student council president of the School of the Afterlife.
Because, of course, there's a School of the Afterlife.
Yep.
I'm starting to
And,
notice a pattern here with anime and like Japanese thought. It's very much seems fixated on school hierarchies and competition.
Well, it will become clear later
Okay.
why this particular setting was chosen. But
Mm-hmm.
so Otonashi's like, y'all are crazy. I'm just gonna go talk to this gal down there. She can't possibly be all that bad. So he goes and talks to Angel. He's like, am I really dead? She's like, yeah. He's like, prove it to me. So she pulls out this wrist sword thing and stabs him, and he dies and wakes up like in his bed sometime later. He's like, well, I got stabbed, and yet I am alive. So truly, I must be dead. So he eventually, gets up and goes and meets. Yuri brings him to go meet all the rest of the members of the battlefront. And they inform him that despite not being able to die, they will eventually disappear if they live like the normal life that the school is trying to encourage them to live. And that's what they call being obliterated. Like, you essentially disappear into nirvana or whatever. They don't really say, but you just kind of disappear. So that's the reason they fight, so that they don't get obliterated. They work against Angel so that they can continue to have their fun existence in the afterlife here. So they just mess around and do fun stuff, like steal the meal tickets of people they call the NPCs, who are kind of like, they're clearly not the same kind of people that, the cognizant awake people are. They just don't react. They don't act the same way. So they just call them NPCs because they kind of just mill about and do school things and are just there. Mm-hmm. So they concoct this operation to steal all of their meal tickets so that they can buy a ton of food and, just have
All the Pop-Tarts you could ever desire.
Well, more like curry and rice and things
Yeah,
like
I
that.
suppose this is...
Gotta remember it's Japan, they don't have Pop-Tarts.
Or maybe they do, but...
Or maybe they do, but that's not what they have for lunch at boarding schools in the afterlife.
Yeah.
There's no Pop-Tarts in the vending machine in the afterlife. What even is the point of dying?
Yeah, gosh.
Anyway.
And so after they run the operation, it's a pretty standard success. They get lots of meal tickets, buy lots of fun stuff. But afterwards, they're kind of running low on supplies. And they have to, fight Angel off with all manner of guns and weaponry. So they have to go down to the guild to resupply. And they've laid a lot of traps along the way to prevent Angel from getting down there and messing up the operation. So as they're going along, a lot of the team members get caught in some of their own traps. And by the end, only Yuri and Otonashi are still alive. While they're just sitting there recovering from the journey down to the guild, Yuri reveals some of her own life story from when she was alive. She talks about how all of her younger siblings were murdered, and she's resentful against God and against Angel, who's very clearly working for God because of that. So after that, Angel shows up, so they decide to give up on the guild and burn the operation down and move back to the old guild. They don't want Angel to recover their secret technologies and whatever else they have
All
going
those meal
on.
tickets.
Yeah, all those meal tickets and guns.
This is sound like a really weird mashup of Pumped Up Kicks and Home Alone there for a second.
I'm like, guns in school. Was this made in America?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And fighting against the student council president.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide that they kind of need to deal with Angel if they want to, in a more permanent fashion, if they want to continue doing things they would like to do things. So they come up with another operation to, they're going to fake like they're going to steal a bunch of meal tickets. So they put on a concert. There's a band within the Battlefront called Girls Dead Monster, an all-female band. And the lead singer, Iwasawa, comes up with this ballad to sing at the concert.
So
And Yuri's like, no, that's not going to get all the people pumped up. They're not going to be excited
it's
to
gotta
be
be
there.
death metal.
Yeah, it's got to be edgy and cool.
We're all dead.
We're all dead. So while they're kind of chilling backstage, Iwasawa, the lead singer, is chatting with Otanashi about her life and her lifelong ambition to be a musician and how she died when her drunken dad hit her over the head and stuff like that. So
Gets pretty heavy
some-
pretty fast
some-
when we
some-
talk about
some-
how people died.
some heavy stuff there. And Iwasawa kind of hijacks the concert, plays her sad song anyway, and right afterwards she disappears.
All around me are familiar. Dun, dun,
And
dun. So
so-
this is a twist.
So yeah. And while Angel is distracted with the concert and whatnot, they hacked into her computer and discovered that there's like this software that controls her abilities, like her wrist sword thingy. So there's like, you can write programs or alter her program to alter what abilities she has access to.
Huh. What OS
And-
does God run on?
I don't know.
Windows XP.
Probably. I don't actually know exactly when this show came out. I think it was like mid 2000s.
So yeah,
2010. so
Windows 7 Vista.
that would have been the Windows 7 era. for
Shut
sure.
down Angel. It's just like da 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 da.
Would you like to play 3D chess?
Next, they play some baseball,
Like you do.
like you do.
Mhm.
And one of the other Battlefront members, named Hinata, he was a baseball player, and one of his great dissatisfactions in his life was that he had this fly ball to win this big tournament that he was supposed to catch, but the sun hit his eye just right, and he dropped it. So that's something he's kind of been
Oh,
holding on
I thought
to.
he was going to be stabbed to death by his stepmother or something while he was catching the
Nope.
ball. Just based on.
I don't remember if they say how he died. I think they do, but
Oh.
I don't remember. It wasn't anything like super heavy like the other ones have been so
Well,
far.
only the girls get unnecessarily dark deaths.
It's like, are the writers okay?
Well, that's not true, but
We'll
see.
probably learn about the main character here, and he'll have a twist. But
Mm-hmm.
So, Otanashi has this hypothesis that he's going to be obliterated if he manages to catch the pop fly to win the big game in this tournament within the school. So he audibly, air quotes, bumps into him on accident, causing him to miss the ball and thereby hopefully preventing him from getting obliterated.
What have you done?
So they're starting to catch on about how this afterlife thing works in as much as when people kind of fulfill some of their greatest regrets in life, that's what causes them to be obliterated. And so afterwards, the student council is bored and they're kind of tired of dealing with Angel, so they decide to come up with a scheme to get her to fail all of her exams so that she loses her status as student council president and thus no longer has power over them. So they do some Otanashi runs interference and distraction. So he just sits down and chats with Angel because he's like the only person who's ever bothered to approach her and talk to her. Everyone else assumes she's like public enemy number one and won't even consider talking to her. But Otanashi is like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to her. So he goes in. He's like, hey, what is Angel actually your name? She's like, no, my name's Kanade. He's like, okay, cool. Nice to meet you, Kanade. But meanwhile, all of his classmates are messing things up and swapping out her papers with fake papers. So who are
the teachers? Who's grading this stuff?
The teachers are extremely just out of it. They're kind of there lecturing, but they don't really see anything that's going on.
They're just like
notice.
The ultimate NPCs,
or like the like the parents in Peanuts, or the adults are
they're just a muted.
Would never seem to know what's going on.
No, the teachers are there and they like respond to things, but they don't notice when students are doing egregious weird crap in class like they usually do.
Like trying to shoot Angel and stuff.
Well, they don't generally do that in the classroom, but they'll like just be hatching Battlefront plans in the back of the room and no one will even address the fact that it's going on. So, and once they do that, Kanade, of course, fails all of her exams, thus causing her to no longer be the vice president, to be the president, and the evil vice president takes over.
Uh-oh.
So this guy's a real big jerk, and he begins a tyrannical reign of terror over the school.
So clearly the other person was the problem.
Yep, Angel was definitely the issue here. And they're like, oh gosh, this guy is so much worse than Angel. Like, what did we do?
I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you've done this. They go for round 2 of Operation Tornado, which is the activate the fans and blow everyone's meal tickets around and catch them. To draw out Angel again and whatnot. But
because she's still the problem.
She shows up to the concert, but kind of doesn't care. Like, normally she would be trying to stop them, but now she's like, not my problem anymore. Just goes and buys a ticket for some tofu, some spicy tofu that she really likes. And when they start the operation, she loses her ticket for spicy tofu and is very sad. But Otanashi catches it. So the one person who like actually cares about her has figured out one of her favorite foods pretty much, and he goes and tries it. And it's like this absurdly spicy, like Carolina Reaper, ghost pepper combined thing. Like, it's
goodness,
ridiculously spicy.
Is that how she died?
Nope.
Oh.
But she just
I've
really
overdosed in capsaicin.
And I've eaten myself alive. And so he eats it and is like, I feel you now. I understand you a little bit more. Because I understand how you like spicy food or whatever. I don't really get that. It's not perfectly clear to me what that's supposed to mean, but it's a thing that happens. So now evil vice president is like absolutely tearing up the school, and he's like, I'm God. I get to execute my will over all of you peasants, and imprisons a bunch of the Battlefront members, and they've changed their name, as they so often do, to the SSS. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's something Secret Service.
Goodness.
But they're like changing their name all the time. There's a whole thing about it in the first episode. So he imprisons a bunch of the SSS members so they can't cause trouble. And so Yuri does some snooping around and figures out that he like beats up NPCs to prevent himself from getting obliterated in a bunch of like weird other heinous behavior like that.
Goodness.
And so they have a confrontation, and they Otanashi and Kanade are in a cell, and he's like, we gotta bust out of here and help them. And so he convinces her to use her powers to help them escape. And he goes up and confronts the evil vice president and is like, hey man, I bet you're doing this because, you know, you're really hurting on the inside and no one's ever really acknowledged you before. And he's like, you know what, man? You're totally right. It's like no one ever stopped to think about me before. No one ever noticed me. He's like, talks him down and brings him back to real life and, you know, convinces him he is not in fact God.
Oh, so like back down to earth, you mean? But not.
Yeah,
because they're
Not
still
actual
dead.
Earth.
But afterlife Earth, as it were.
Okay.
And so, Naoi joins the team. That's his name.
Oh boy.
And he, like, you know, he still has a grudge against Yuri, but, you know, he, like, adores Otanashi now because he actually took the time to care about him.
You understand me.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're not so different,
You and I.
And, formerly evil vice president has this ability to hypnotize people, and that's how he kind of got the NPCs on his side to do his dirty work and stuff. And so the team figures that he can use hypnosis on Otanashi to help him maybe recover some of his memories of his life. And so he does a little bit. And he discovers that Otanashi his life was pretty well focused on going to med school to save his chronically ill younger sister. And that was, you know, his whole goal in life was to, you know, become a great doctor so he could figure out some way to cure her because they weren't exactly sure what was wrong. And he discovers that he died in an earthquake when he was riding the subway and the train tunnel collapsed and they all got stuck down there before help could arrive and they just died. Dehydration and whatnot. So, that's all fun. But they decide they want to go on a fishing trip. Because why not?
Because what else do
They
you
go
do in
in-
the afterlife?
What else? You do fun stuff that you feel like doing.
Do they
right?
go and catch dead fish?
No, they go and catch like enormous, ridiculously large fish
So
because they have like a master fisherman in the group.
like,
But while they're doing that, a second angel shows up and attacks Yuri.
a second
And
angel?
so, a second angel with like red eyes.
So, like,
this
this-
one's
Dark Link.
it's very clearly different than the original one, because soon after that, the original one comes out and starts fighting the mean one, and so they're like, what the heck's going on here? And the hacker man, the hacker man, he remembers one of her abilities was called harmonics, where she could make clones of herself. So they figure that something must have happened where she created an evil version of herself. Not the best version of yourself.
The best
They,
light ever.
Oh, yes, that's right. but this is not the best fishing trip ever.
No.
And so they figure out that the real, well, there's a bunch of Kanades running around at this point. Because, like, the cloning program went haywire, and so there's just a bajillion of them. And the real one is being held in the guild. So they have to repeat their journey back down to the guild with the team. And the exact same people die in exactly the same spots, to the same traps, on their way down. And so Yuri and Otanashi are once again the only ones who survive. So they tell her, hey, you need to activate like the recall portion of the harmonics thing so all of your clones come back and you retain your normal personality again and not be a big meanie to everybody. And she's like, well, if I reabsorb all those bad parts, I might become a jerk permanently, and I just want you to know that before I do this. And they're like, you know what? I wouldn't want you to not be yourself. So I'm willing to take the risk. So they do it. And, she's out cold for a while. So they don't know if it worked or not.
Mhm.
So after she wakes up, Kanade and Otonashi kind of realize that they should be helping people to start moving on. The whole point of this afterlife school is to give, young kids or, young adults an opportunity to make peace with the parts of their lives they didn't care for or things they regretted or whatever.
Mhm.
And so that's what Angel has been doing this whole time. She's just staying behind pretty much to help everyone get through and move on to peace with their lives.
Mhm.
And so they help out the various team members kind of fulfill their lifetime wishes and everything. Then these strange shadowy creatures start appearing, attacking people all over the place. And they notice that one of the NPCs is like, they witness the NPC turn into like a cloud of shadow and join the big cloud that's roving around. And so they're like, I bet this thing is kind of like breaking down, it's reaching the end of its life cycle, and we all gotta get out of here before we get sucked up into the cloud. And so they finish helping everyone else move on, and they track down the guy who's like running the shadows, and he's like, Yuri, because Yuri is the one who ultimately like goes to confront him. He's like, you could become God if you wanted to. You could take all of this power that I've accumulated and take control of what's going on here, and you could run the show. And she's like, you know what? Screw you. And shoots him and destroys all the computers, because she doesn't want to perpetuate the cycle, more or less. She wants to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to move on their own terms and not dictate her will like Mr. Computer Man is doing. And so now we're left with just the core 5 people: Yuri, Hinata, formerly evil Vice President Otonashi, and Kanade. And they're the only ones that are left. So they decide to hold a graduation ceremony to celebrate their passing on.
Mhm.
So they set up the gym and have their little ceremony and give their little speeches, and one by one they all start to, say their goodbyes and walk through weird camera angles, and suddenly they're gone. And now we're left with just Otonashi and Kanade.
Mhm.
And they're like, you know what? Otonashi's like, we should stay. We should stay and help everyone who comes through here to realize why they're here and what this whole place is for. And she's like, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm ready to have my rest. And so, despite him wanting her to stay, she decides to move on. And that's where the show ends. Just him standing there by himself. And then there's like a little postlude thing where you see a guy who looks awfully like Otonashi and a girl who looks awfully like Kanade. And she's like whistling a little tune, and he recognizes it. But they don't talk to each other about it. He just keeps walking on his way. And then it ends. So yeah, there we are.
So did we ever learn how Angel died, or is that not important?
I don't think we did. I know it is revealed to us that, Otonashi was an organ donor, and she received his heart as a transplant before she died. So that was kind of what connected them in the real life.
Interesting.
But I don't believe they ever said how she died.
So, I mean, it's the afterlife, but the timeline's weird on that, because if she got his heart after he died, but she's been there for a long time before he showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird
I mean, it's
timey-wimey weirdness.
afterlife time doesn't really make a difference, so whatever, but it's like,
So yeah. What are y'all's initial impressions of the show?
It is very interesting. It sounds kind of like like the characters' arcs, the resistance group's arc, is kind of just like going through the 5 stages of grief, where it's like they start out in denial, trying to they stay alive, and then bargain with themselves, like maybe if I don't catch the ball, I'll be able to hang out more. But then eventually they come around to accepting that, yeah, I think the whole point is to move on and help everybody else move on, because you know what, that's part of death. Death, you die. You know?
Hate to break it to you, kid, but you're dead.
So that's like kind of a thing that stuck out to me.
James,
Um,
do you have initial thoughts?
it seems a lot of the story when you get down to it is interesting enough. It's just a lot of random, weird quirks to it.
Like, why do they
Yeah,
have random powers that are controlled by computers and
it's
stuff?
only Angel that has those. And why it's her, we never really find
Well, there was
out.
the hypnosis guy who just, for no other reason than,
Well, that, hypnosis is a thing you can do in
I suppose,
real
it's
life
a
without
big-
fantasy powers.
I mean, I guess maybe maybe for him, all of the
And-
friends or all of the NPCs were the friends he made along the way. That didn't come out right. Anyway, yeah, kind of wacky stuff, but then
Was
when
it
you get
also
down to it, it's
ever
interesting enough.
revealed how and why Angel had those powers and why they were controlled from a laptop?
Not like terribly explicitly. There may have been some hint or clue in there that you could really dig into and find out why, but they never like explicitly say.
And if our main guy stayed behind to be the guide to the next people that came through, does he get a computer that controls a set of powers that he can use, or is it just an Angel thing?
We don't know.
Um,
That's part of the ending mysteries that you don't really know.
Well, that's kind of like death in general. It's like a mystery, and you don't really know, except you kind of know.
No, you never know, but when they'll know, you'll know. You know,
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
taking on the jellies.
Some of the thing I found really interesting about this show is that it's kind of a neat thought experiment about limbo. Where the episode on The Good Place is like a secular thought experiment that arrives at purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
And while limbo isn't necessarily like a super coherent theological idea, some people believe in it. I personally don't put much stock in it.
I mean,
it's a
beyond-
solution to it's a solution to a problem that's not really a problem. It's sort
Mhm.
of just an intellectual problem more than anything else. Not like a
And we're talking separate from like the place where the just went before
Right.
That's
passion.
Sheol,
Yeah,
not
like-
Limbo. That's different.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like
Limbo
it's kind of a
involves steak and
purgatory-esque idea that's also not like making up for your mistakes, but like detaching from regrets and there's no adults in this place. It's all Otanashi is the oldest one that I can think of.
What about the teachers though?
Well, the teachers are pretty much NPCs,
Oh.
so they're kind of just in the
They're
background.
set
Why is it a
dressing.
school?
Because they're all kids.
Okay.
The place is designed for kids, obviously, because there aren't any adults there.
True.
The
And so
whole point is helping
school-
them graduate to the next level of dying. They're moving
Existence.
from one spot to another, but they've never made that transition in life.
I see.
So, yeah, it's just kind of like if there was something like that, what would it be like? It's kind of the thought experiment that goes on there. Another thing that is really kind of interesting that is just like the individual stories of all the characters
That you
know,
actually get anyway.
that you get to, well, like some of the early characters that, move on sort of on their own without intentional intervention by the main characters. We're kind of sensing this idea that, they're holding on to regret. They're holding on to all of these negative things. And, if they could have the opportunity to do it over, to make up for it,
And
they should take that, to let go of all of these things. That's an opportunity they should seize. Even though it might mean that they get separated from their friends that they've made. Ultimately, when you run up against eternity, you eventually get bored.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of as The Good Place proves. So, yeah.
So yeah, you can't spend an eternity using the same bullying tactic to steal people's meal tickets and eat their spicy curry.
And try to shoot them with a sniper rifle for some reason.
Because, yes, the Afterlife School
Because
has
that's just kind of
sniper
part of
rifles.
the guild is like this massive production, like way underground, where they manufacture all of this stuff. So this is not like a thing that's just readily available. It's something they had to go out of their way to make.
What
And the
was
guild.
the
So
high school gunsmith that started that operation?
There's a guy that runs the show down there. There's
Huh.
a whole bunch of people that, like, members of the battlefront that are kind of in the supply lines, as it were, in their fight against literally one person.
They just decided they all hate this person.
We have an army. We have an angel.
Huh.
Yeah, it just kind of goes to show you the ridiculous proportions that people will sometimes go to resist what they really should be doing,
Mm-hmm.
that they
Yeah.
know they should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think the whole idea behind giving, like, early high schoolers just massive weapons of destruction and, like,
That don't really
huge
do
gun,
anything because they're already dead.
because they're already dead. It's just kind of playing up that whole dynamic
This is
Just
really
kinda-
futile.
Just taking it
to
to an
to
extreme.
add some shock value to and some fun to
Yeah.
how the conflict plays out. Because when you're dealing with stuff this heavy, you kind of need some
Levity.
comic or some levity to it, yeah.
Mhm.
And all of the fun combat is part of that levity.
Neat.
There's just like several points that you'd bring up that there were several points in during your synopsis that was like, what are even the mechanics of this?
Like, how
happening
does
in
this
the
work?
Afterlife? How
What
how
sort
do you
of weird
catch
modded
fish?
what sort of weird modded Minecraft server Afterlife is this?
I mean, I get it. It's just like this kind of just fun for fun, to just suspend your disbelief because it's this whole.
Right.
But it's like, but how though?
But why?
But it doesn't need an explanation. It can be mysterious and weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Any other
Shall we,
specific cool stuff?
That about does it for things that I had on the cool stuff front.
All right.
We can move into the transcendental analysis.
Let's do what-
Lay truth.
truth. Yeah. What sort of truths can we reap from this show?
Reap. I like it.
Reap. I didn't even.
I think Yuri's little, like, rebellion against God thing is one of the interesting points of truth in this show. Like, she comes to realize that God didn't make it happen.
Mhm.
Like, he
Mhm.
didn't
that her
you know,
siblings are
cause
murdered.
this evil. Yeah, it wasn't his doing. Even though he allowed it, there was some agency on the part of the murderer. And so she learns to give up her resentment and just kind of accept that life was the way it was for her. And so she kind of, in a very intellectually robust way, kind of deals with the problem of evil, in that she kind of just recognizes the place of free will in the whole equation.
Mhm.
I guess the other main point of truth is, like, if you're given a place and an opportunity to make up for your regrets in life,
If you
don't fight
had
against
a
it.
chance to change your fate.
well, it's not really changing your
Right,
fate,
right.
because
But
you have
change-
already died.
Yeah.
Change how you respond to the events of your life.
If you had the
Right.
chance to accept your fate, would you?
Would you?
So yeah,
And
that,
just
that,
kind of make peace with your life if you're
That-
given the
letting
chance to
go
do that.
of
Oh gosh.
to reference another Disney movie, I guess. Because
Let's see, what other points of truth in there? I think those are the two really big ones.
What was the deal with the guy behind the curtain? Doing with the computer stuff.
I mean, he was kind of just like there to explain things collapsing a bit. It's not really clear, like, whether he was running the thing the whole time or whether he was like just some kid who was also there, who was trying to control things, much like formerly evil Vice President was, and try to assume the role of God.
the point is, he was there to illustrate the fact that if you stay holding on to those regrets, it'll consume you over time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
Precisely.
you gotta let go or you won't be able to escape it at some point.
I see.
And you're eventually going to bring harm to others if you don't make peace with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Goodness. There's just a lot of really fun and good relationships between the members of the Battlefront.
Oh, sure.
Particularly like Kanade and Otanashi. She was, obviously someone regarded as an enemy by virtually everyone with functioning rational powers before he got there. And he's like, well, maybe she's a person and maybe she like wants to have friends and stuff. Maybe we should do that. And so he takes upon himself to reach out to someone who is, publicly ostracized by everyone else.
He's
And
like, hey,
much the same with...
what if I treated you like a person? Then evil vice
What?
president happens and it's like, hey, what if I treated you like a person?
What if the president had feelings? What if the vice president had feelings?
Yeah, he treats people with respect and acknowledges
Hey,
their pains, but also
I'm an anime
challenges-
protagonist. I can emotionally connect with you.
well, that's literally the whole show. It's emotionally connecting with people. But other points of goodness are the times when all the individual members get to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you see them reach a point of really firm peace with their mistakes and their current lives and everything. They're just like, I'm content. I'm ready to move on. And even though it's kind of sad to not have them there, contributing to the fun of it all, you recognize and you really feel, how good it is for them to have moved on from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for goodness there.
Beauty then.
One of the camera work is just really, really interesting. Well, camera, I say, as
it's
with audible air quotes.
Animation, yeah.
The
But
framing
they
of
still-
the shots.
Yeah, the shot frame where, like, they'll have a shot from one of the characters from a certain angle, and as they're about to pass on, and then it it like
Some cool
moves.
visuals.
They like walk off the side of the shot,
Sure.
and then when it cuts to another shot,
Like-
they're gone. No, so they're like
Airport
walking
camera,
out of the
but, yeah.
frame to walk out of that plane of existence, and
I
it's
think
just
I-
a really cool
You found your
framing
Yep, I got
trick
the thumbnail.
that I thought was
He
really,
just
really
looked up
potent.
images, and there was one of
Just
Angel in the crosshairs, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yep, that's the one you're gonna use. Isn't it?
how's the music?
The one with
Because it got the beats. Oh, sure.
other points of beauty. I mean, the reason the show is called Angel Beats, there's like a little musical note at the end of the, I don't know what you call it, kind of like the title artwork. And so, like, music is obviously a very big portion of kind of the thematic nature of the show. Is Kanade is a pianist, and that's like, it shows her in the opening playing a little nice emotive piano bit. And obviously, like, with the rock band being the impetus for all of their operations, and music being one of the ways that two of the members pass on,
Sure.
Right.
like fulfilling
'Cause, I mean,
their goals,
Music is like
becoming a musician and
naturally
putting on a
connecting
great concert with the
emotionally
song
with
they
people,
wrote and
right?
everything.
It's a
So music is really, really central
and
to
the whole show is about connecting
plot
emotionally with
and
people. So
kind of the
also
overall
having
theme.
music as a theme in that just really fits. Speaking of multiple pieces really
that's
fitting
what it's
together,
all about.
Unity. Not the game engine.
Yeah. Speaking of unity. Yeah. Yeah, like we said, the uniting
It's all very
principle is really
relational.
the emotional
because
not to
it's
get
a show
emotional.
about people and the way they feel.
It's the
So,
emotional connection between
you gotta
people
kind
and
of have
everything,
to have everything
in the show comes to serve
revolve
that.
around
Some people
that.
deal with it with tofu, and some other people deal with it with shooting the person who likes the tofu. But they're all dead already.
They were dead the whole time. Bum bum bum.
Wait, they're all dead. Always have been.
With guns.
Holding a sniper rifle at Angel. Dumb memes.
Oh yes.
That's not the uniting factor. Oh.
No, it's fairly short. Yeah.
Always but
Check it out, man.
Yeah, we're behind on a couple of the shows that you've recommended already.
it's only 13. It's only 13 episodes, and it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Audible looking
Check it
at
out.
you.
Audibly
I would recommend.
Audibly
If
drilling
you're
our
into
eyes.
Sappy
Into you.
emotional shows, this is your thing.
Audible.
Looking at you, Emma.
But we're not available on other,
I don't know if that's Amazon.
not strict.
You might be able to listen to a podcast on Amazon Music or something, but
Regardless, where can they find our podcast?
they can. Well, thank you for listening to the Plating Papist, platingpapist@gmail.com. Or give us a movie and tell us to watch it, and we're lazy and don't get around to it for a while. That might happen too. But
Did you notice how I nicely kept the thing going while you pulled up the
see,
script?
I was just going to roll with it and not completely emaciate the fourth wall.
What are the platforms
Again,
on
we
which they
established
can
There's not
find
really a
those?
fourth wall with
No.
this thing.
Sometimes we stall because I forgot to open the Word document.
And I want to make you feel awkward.
Yes,
Uh,
always. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our two favorite listeners, farewell until next week.
Later.
Bye.
Au revoir.